AI is predicted. Important when people's lives are on the line. You can't be predicting.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Anthony Cosenzo with another episode of Blueprint Approved, where we feature real conversations with people having real careers. Today, we have a special guest on the show. Not a conversation we had yet before, but I'm really excited to get this going. We have the lovely Angela Grant, who is a court reporter. So thank you so much for coming with us today. And how are you?
I'm great, Anthony. Thank you for having me.
Of course. No, this is definitely a conversation I've been waiting to have. Tell me, how'd you get started in this?
Oh, wow. That's an interesting question. I have been a court reporter now for 30 years. And when I was in high school, I had a business teacher. I took a lot of business classes, and I always thought that I would be in the business world. That was something that I imagined and thought that's where I would end up. I had a business teacher who took out one of those stenotype machines that court reporters use. She took it out of a closet and she showed it to us one day in school. And I was like, what is that crazy looking little machine? And she told us that court reporters use it. And I had never heard of a court reporter before, didn't know what they did, but she explained it to us and she showed us and then she put it back in the closet. And for some reason, that machine stayed in the back of my mind. So as I got closer to graduation, I knew I wanted to go to college, but I didn't know what really I wanted to study. And that machine stayed in my mind. And I thought, let me go and try to see if there's a school out there that teaches it. I'm from New York originally, and I found a school in Manhattan that taught the court stenographers. Court stenography is what the profession is called. And I went to the school at an open house. They told us about the program, about court reporters and what they do, and I was hooked. It's been me and that machine ever since.
That's pretty dope. So for those who had never heard of what the court reporter or the word described in its full potential, in a brief sentence to like, how would you actually describe what your role is?
I help attorneys and judges capture the verbatim record live and in real time. So I type on a stenotype machine, and I could show it to you if you want to, but on that machine, it's set up. The keyboard is not like a regular keyboard, a computer keyboard. We have keys that are different from the regular keyboard. So I type words phonetically, the way they sound as opposed to the way they're really spelled. And it's like a shorthand code. So I type live and I have my laptop open, and the attorneys and judges can read live as I'm typing. They can see the court proceedings live on their laptops. At the end of the day, I make a verbatim transcript of the trial or the hearing or whatever proceeding we're having in court that day. I make a verbatim record from the typing that I do. It's called writing on the machine, but it's actually typing. From the writing that I do on the machine, I make a verbatim transcript.
That's cool. And you got it from an early level from even high school, and you went into the open room and really got some stuff into that one. And since you mentioned you've been doing it for a while now, 30 years, what's the favorite part and most difficult or challenging part that you have to do with the recordings today?
My favorite part of this job is the flexibility. I started out as a freelance court reporter working in Manhattan. So that means I worked with deposition agencies and I covered depositions all across Manhattan, Westchester County, New York, all over the place, upstate New York where I lived. And I would go to law firms, or I've been to prisons. I've been to the morgue. I've been to people's homes. I have been any and everywhere doing court reporting and taking down the official record. It's been a great experience, and one of the challenges of it is so that it takes a lot of focus and a lot of concentration. It's a very high pressure, stressful job, and it takes a lot of focus, so you can't really be, like, tired or not focused on what you're doing. You have to pay attention to detail.
I guess if we shadowed you for a day, just to get an idea of what you do on your day to day, what would be something that people find most surprising? Or maybe they never thought about what you do to be most intriguing?
I think people would be surprised to see how much focus it takes. And how this job mentally, it takes a lot of strength because it's a high pressure job, a high stress job, but you also it's very rewarding because I'm also in the middle of a lot of high profile cases. I hear some of the craziest things that you hear on TV, on the news. I've been in the middle of those types of cases, and it's a very high stress, high pressure situation, but it's also very rewarding to be able to provide a record at the end of the day, especially in criminal cases when people's lives are on the line. It's to be able to provide that record for someone who might need it to defend themselves later on for their life. That can be very rewarding.
Do you think that's what I guess some people may misunderstand or mistakenly think your job has to do? Because if I think about it, oh, the court person just has the easy job. They type all day, not even thinking about what the mental capacity it has to do on your health itself just to be physically present for that. Is that something you would say is misunderstanding, or what would you think that people misunderstand about your role?
I think a lot of people think that it's a machine doing the job, or thinking that it's not an actual person that does it. I think they think it's all computer generated and there's not an actual person sitting there doing it. And if you go into a courthouse or a courtroom, you will see that I am actually sitting there taking down every single word that's being said. So there are situations when, if the attorneys are speaking at the same time, or I can't hear something, I will stop the proceedings and say, "Excuse me, can you repeat that? I didn't hear you." And when I do speak up, that's when people realize, "Oh, yeah, I forgot she's sitting there taking down the record." So that's one thing that's misunderstood. People don't really actually think a real person is doing it, but it is a real person
Do
actually
you
sitting.
think that's a skill that people most often think, hey, that's really important to it, but just don't think about it as like active listening? Or do you think that there's a different skill that people think that, hey, I really need this in order to excel here?
I think people may not understand how much concentration is involved.
Hmm.
So it's more mental than so much physical. People will think that, oh, okay, you're sitting there and you're typing, and you would assume that my fingers would get tired out before anything else. But really, your mind will get tired out. Mentally, you'll get tired out because you're processing everything. I am processing every word that's being said. So I am like a computer. I have to process the words to be able to type them out. So it has to be done. People can't speak at the same time. You can't talk on top of each other because I can only focus on one speaker at a time. So that, in that sense, it can be tiring and draining. And we take breaks during the court proceedings. The judges know how it works. The judges that I used to work with, they were very good to work with, and they knew every hour to 15 minutes we need to take a break for the court reporter to stretch and get some water and just take a break for a few minutes, 15 minutes or so, and then start up again.
That's cool. I never thought that the judges would be that. Just in general, I always think when they have these type of proceedings, you guys would just go all day. I never consider. I would assume a lunch break or something like that, but I would never consider you having to take intermediate breaks during sessions, court proceedings, if you want to call it that.
Yes, in New York, where I used to work, we had a kind of a schedule. The judges, I had great judges that I work with, and we had a system set up where the judges knew how hard it is for court reporters to do what we do. So every hour, 15 minutes, every hour and a half, we would take a 15-minute or so break to stretch because I'm sitting in the chair all day and I'm sitting in that same position. So we would come back and then we would go another hour and a half or so and then break for lunch, come back in the afternoon and do the same thing.
A lot of times we're going through things and we get pretty hard on ourselves, not realizing how far we've come along. So if you really had to go back and see your younger self, what do you think is something that your younger self would be proud of you today?
Wow. I think my younger self would be proud that I didn't give up. Their court reporting school was not easy. There is very tough at times. There were many times where things are going hard through school and you feel like you just want to quit. But I said, no, I come too far. I can't quit. Let me just keep going. And if you just keep going, if you just not don't give up, just keep going, you will get through whatever that hard situation, that hard time, you will get through it. Just keep going and don't give up. Keep going because you can do it.
Yeah, it reminds me of a quote that Steve Harvey once said. He said, everyone in life has had 100% of a hard day, and you overcame that because you're here today. And if you thank God and where you're at, you realize how far you've come along and continue to give yourself grace because even though you might be not where you want to be right now, you weren't where you were yesterday.
Exactly. That is so true. So true. I agree 100%. Sticking to it and not giving up on whatever your goal might be, you'll be so happy. Once you make your way through, it's so much more enjoyable on the other side of that. You'll look back and say, wow, I actually accomplished it and I made it through. So I love that.
Being that you've been around so many different people of all walks of life, what was the best or even worst advice that you've ever received from anybody?
Try new things. A lot of people feel like once you're a court reporter, that's what you do forever and you can never venture outside of that. So I've always been one to love learning, love growing in other areas. I love doing new things. So I've always been one to want to experiment and try other things. So that has been one thing that I've always focused on is try to have interest outside of court reporting, try to learn new things. And once you're a court reporter, in my mind, you're always a court reporter because this job is niche and so technical that it's a skill that you
And you made an interesting point as far as being stuck. And I think the one thing with today's era and technology available, we have so many different resources that allow us to shift our mindset or even just our learning experience on the different directions that we want to pursue. And with the way video technology has come out, we get to not only see people doing it, but also enhance how quickly we take that on versus where it was a while ago. Unless you knew someone in that space, you really didn't have the opportunity to learn about it unless you went somewhere and you knew, like for an example, a specific college specializes in culinary. So no, you all right, now I want to go here. Versus now you can go online and say, hey, I want to learn how to cook these eggs. I'm gonna watch a video. I might mess up a couple times, but I don't have to spend a boatload of money learning this new skill. If I want to go deeper into it, I can, but we at least have the opportunity now to go faster on what we want to participate and learn.
exactly, that's true. Right now, I am a member of the National Court Reporters Association. It's an association that represents court reporters across the country. And that association actually has a program where they will allow students, it's called the A to Z program. And any student who's interested in being a court reporter or learning the machine or learning just to see what the job is like, they can take a 6-week program for free on the machine to learn and see if it's something that they would be interested in pursuing instead of going out to the school and spending money on something that you may not be interested in. You can take a 6-week program and get a feel for it to see if it's something that you would like to pursue further. So that's
How
a
does someone get started into that? Do you have to sign up for the association, or is it something where they have to get invited to participate in?
no, there you can go to the association's website. It's ncra.org. I believe that's the website, ncra.org. And on the website, there should be something, a banner that says A to Z program. And you can just click the banner and it'll give you all the information about how to register for one of those programs. And they're done virtually. So you can do it right from your home. And the teacher will arrange for you to actually either get a real machine to practice on, or you can practice on an iPad if you're not able to get a machine, you can practice. They have an iPad app that allows you to actually learn the machine's keys the same way you would do if you had an actual machine in person.
Okay. So let's say someone's really interested at this point and like, I want to learn more about it. What advice do you want to break down and be like, hey, do you know what? This is something I can share with you that helped me along the way.
I would say this job is great. It's very and no 2 days are the same. There are a lot of options that you have being a court reporter. You can be a court reporter, you can be a freelance. Stenographer and court reporter are the same word. They mean the same thing, but they're interchangeable. So if you hear me say that, I'm talking about the same person, the stenographer or the court reporter. You can work in court, which means that you would actually work in a courthouse every day and you would work with judges or attorneys, or you could work freelance, which is what I do now, and you can do depositions and work remotely, which is what I also do now. And you could also be what's called a CART provider, CART, and you can work with people in the deaf and hard of hearing community and provide real-time translations for them. So I have friends who are, they're called CART providers, and they actually go to colleges and they will sit with a deaf or hard of hearing person in their classroom, and they will actually type up what the professor is saying. And the student would have an iPad right on their desk, and they can read what's happening on the screen, and they get to participate in their classroom and know what's happening, just like the people who are hearing people can participate. The person who is hard of hearing can participate in the class as well by reading the laptop.
I know I've seen a few of those folks in the past. I've gone to like comedy shows and things like that. And I've seen people signing into that event to make sure that they can enjoy the show real time. Brings me to an interesting question because when you have someone doing that, I think of personally the introduction or the release of public AI to this point, and someone who is hard of hearing could buy a machine or even use their phone to do voice notes and then have it uploaded into a software to have it translated. What are some of the benefits to having someone record it real time versus using an AI software?
I would always say, and a person is better than the AI. AI is great and I love it and it's come a long way, but it's not as accurate as a real person can be. They can hear and they can decipher when words are spoken, and what word is actually being spoken. Sometimes with AI, it mixes up the words. It's not giving you accurate verbatim words that are being spoken. So in those situations, a student might say, "What is that word?" It's the word Lamborghini. I'm just giving you an example, and AI might translate it something different. So in that sense, AI has come a long way, but it's not as good as a human person. And also, if AI has to listen, if there's background noise, AI might miss something. It may not pick up, what's actually being said, or the background noise might overpower the AI software and it might miss something. But in that same case, the live person, they can hear what's being said. They can write down what's being said, and if they miss it or the background noise is too loud, that person can speak up and say, "Can you please repeat yourself?" So that student will get the benefit of hearing what's actually being said, and it won't be missed because of background noise or something like that.
Hmm. I agree with you specifically in those environments and then specifically in courtrooms. I think there are definitely benefits to having someone there, right? Typing it out. Because to your point, AI isn't human, it can make mistakes. How do you see it? Do you see AI impacting your industry anytime soon? Or do you think it might help you in a way later on in the hearings?
As of right now, AI is not allowed in courtrooms. The problem with AI is predictive. So when you speak to Siri, Siri can judge what your next words will be as you're speaking. You've seen that on your iPhone or whatever. You start typing something out and it's finishing your sentence for you. In the courtroom, you can't do that. You can't be predictive. You can't start to assume what someone else is going to say before it's said. That's not acceptable at all. You can't do that in AI when we're talking about criminal proceedings, when people's lives are on the line. Someone can be going to prison for years and years. And if you have this AI software that is predicting something that may not have been said, you can't rely on that. That's not acceptable for the courtroom. Now, there are a lot of AI tools that can be used to do other things, maybe to train students or something like that. But AI in the courtroom is not a good idea right now. It's not there yet. I can't see it. I think it's too predictive, and I believe a person being there, sitting there, typing down what's being said is the most accurate thing, because AI, you don't know what a computer's going to do.
And I agree with you on that one for sure. Is there maybe an opportunity though, as you're to use it as a second level of verification? So obviously you're typing out, but in the off chance a reporter makes a mistake, it can now go back and be replayed. Obviously, it's not being used today in courtrooms, but I'm thinking at some point it may get introduced. And if I'm thinking about it forwardly, how could it be used in this environment?
Yeah.
That's what my curiosity is coming into.
I guess AI could probably be used in that sense. It's not allowed. But the advances of AI, 20 years ago, AI was terrible. In 2025, AI has come a long way. So the improvements are drastic compared to what they used to be, but they're still not accurate enough to be able to replace a human. I
No,
think a human who knows how to use AI appropriately is best, as opposed to letting AI come in and take over and do it yourself. If a person knows how to use AI to their benefit, that would work better than to just completely rely on AI to do it itself.
in your profession, you mentioned about the online organization doing the 6-week program. I would imagine there's a study buddy or some level of facilitator, teacher, mentor along your way when you started early on. Did you ever get some level of mentorship, or do you consider yourself to be that mentor now to the future generation?
Absolutely. When I graduated college, I had a mentor and she trained me. When I got a college, court reporting school in college taught me how to write on the machine. It taught me how to be a court reporter. It taught me the book technical stuff, but you don't learn how to be a court reporter until once you graduate and you start to do the job. And thankfully, I had a mentor who guided me and was there with me every step of the way. And I could rely on her and ask her questions. And she helped me become great. And she was very hard on me. And she told me, I'm being hard on you because I want you to be good. I want you to be excellent. She said, I see it in you and you have it, but I want you to be great. So I'm going to be hard on you. And she was. And because of the way she was with me, it developed me into the person that I am today. And so that when I mentor students, I give that same approach that she did with me. I let them know you can come to me and ask me any questions, but I'm going to give it to you real and let you know what it's really so that you can be great also. It's not an easy profession. There's a lot involved outside of just sitting there taking down the record. You have to know how to interact with people. You have to know how to have time management. You have to know a lot of other skills besides just taking down the record.
No, I agree. Some of the best advice I've had from mentors along the way in life, they've always kept it 1,000% with me. If I made mistakes, they'd call me out on it. They've also given me direction to say, hey, here's how you correct that the next time you happen. And for me, I people that report to me and things like that, I always tell them the same thing. Hey, yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat it to you because the world isn't going to be as kind to you as well. I would rather you learn from the mistake. And if I go candidly to you, or if I go lightly on you, then you may think that the next time it's also acceptable. Now, that doesn't mean I have to be rude about it. I'm not going to be a jerk about it, but I
Yes.
will be firm. I will be direct. I will pinpoint where the mistake was at. I'll also let you know how you fix it. And for me, that style works as a recipient of that. And from a feedback perspective, being the person giving it out, I would hope that anyone I've had the privilege to work with would say that helped them along the way as well.
I agree. I agree completely with that. I would rather a student come to me, make a mistake, explain their mistake to me, as opposed to a mistake like a big mistake or something like that happening in the courtroom or happening at a deposition when you're with attorneys or judges or any of the parties involved. I would rather check you and get you in shape behind closed doors to correct that mistake so that you don't do it again. I don't want anyone to go out and be embarrassed or make a mistake and you have to get corrected by a judge or something like that. That's not cool. You don't want to experience that. So
Mhm.
take the correction from me because it's all in love and it's to make you better anyway.
I know you mentioned you use the special keyboard consistently. What other tools, softwares, technology, if any, are you using that you rely on your day-to-day responsibilities?
I have a software that's specific to court reporting that I use. And I also use we do what's called real time translation. So when I do depositions remotely, I work remotely from home now, which I love. And so when I do depositions, I have an app that I connect to. I can send the attorneys a link through email and they can click on the link and they are able to see my real-time translation live as we're doing it remotely, so that as we're going along, they can see their questions, they can see the answers, and if they need to go back to something that was said an hour ago, they can just scroll back on their computers through the testimony. So that's one of the biggest one of the biggest, I say not advancements, but one of the biggest benefits of court reporting is the real-time translation of it, when attorneys can actually read and see what's happening, what's being said as we go along.
Now, is the software used throughout all court proceeding, like all court cities and states, or is it specific to each county?
Each court reporter has its own software. It's individual to the court reporter. It's something that we use specifically. When
Gotcha.
we do real time in court, what we do is we hook up our laptop through an HDMI cord into the court's AV system, and that will allow our screen to be pulled up on the judge's computer, and then they can plug in and see what we're doing, what we're writing as it's happening. And if the attorneys want that service, we can have them do it either remotely through the internet or plug up to their computers, and they can actually see that also. That's an additional service that court reporters charge for, though, when it comes to that. One of the things that some people might be surprised to learn about, though, is when you work in court as a court reporter, you work for the court system. So you receive a salary from the court, but you also, when you produce transcripts, you get paid for that on the side, and that is your business. So attorneys have to actually pay you for a trial transcript. If you go to a trial and it's about what the trial is about, whatever it's, if the attorneys say we would like this transcript either tonight or the next morning, they have to actually pay that. So any transcript you have to pay the court reporter for outside of our salary. That's two different things. So that's the business side of court reporting. You are actually selling them the transcript. You're providing that service for them and you're selling them the transcript. And the real time service that you provide for them, that's a fee that you sell them also.
A lot of information there, right there. I want to pack that down in a couple of different ways.
Or
You mentioned the software itself. Can you share the name of the software that you use to rely on?
the name of the software that I use is called Case Catalyst. There is also another big brand out there called Eclipse. Those are two of the most popular, well-known court reporting softwares that's out there. There are others, but those are the two big main companies that court reporters use.
Gotcha. So if I'm looking to be in your role, I'm looking for those two. Those are the top two to go and pursue on.
Yes, those are most well-known at this point. Yeah. There are others, but those are the two main ones that a lot of court reporters use. And they both basically do the same things. They're just owned by two different companies and they work slightly a little bit differently, but they will both give you what you need.
Cool. And then on the business side of things, you're talking about the transcripts as a side as another alternative revenue that you can get on your own. Is that shared in your educational studies, or is that something you as a reporter have to learn along the way? Hey, I can get paid for this.
Well, school doesn't teach you the business side, but getting paid for it is how it works. That is what court reporting is about. You provide a transcript, you provide trial transcripts, and that transcript is paid by the attorneys. It doesn't come from your court salary. The attorneys have to pay you for that. That is a service that you're paid for. So that is a whole business in and of itself. So yes, I was a court employee, but at the same time, when attorneys or anyone else orders a transcript, they have to pay for that. And there's a set page rate that the courts set a page rate for it. But in the private sector, when you do depositions and stuff like that, the agencies set the page rate for it. So it's actually a whole nother business. Court reporting, that is the business of court reporting, is providing those trial transcripts or deposition transcripts.
Gotcha. Here on the show, we're really big on sharing the blueprint. It really gets down. What's either a book or podcast that you personally really enjoy or that you want to just recommend to the people?
I am a financial literacy enthusiast. I love all things financial literacy. So one of my favorite podcasts is Earn Your Leisure. I love that podcast. On Market Mondays, I watch religiously all the time. And a book that I recently read that I love a lot is called The One Thing. It's a book that talks about focus, how to accomplish your goals faster and not get distracted by a lot of the noise and the outside things that happens. And it talks about focusing on the one most important thing that's in front of you right now to accomplish, and then move on to your next step. Before you get sidetracked with a whole lot of stuff that's going on in your life and you feel like you've got so many tasks to accomplish, just focus on that one thing right now and get that done and move on.
I haven't read The One Thing yet, but your output onto it reminds me of the 12-week year by Brian Moran, where instead of focusing on many things for that year, condense it down to the most important things that you want to get down on a 12-week period and focusing on a few items for that week to get them out the way because your month is equivalent to that week.
Yep. I read that one also. I agree. Yep.
Why would you try to read that at least once a year just to reflect on things? If the people decided that they want to stay in contact with you, learn more about the profession, is there a way that they can do?
Yes, sure. You can email me at angela.grant207@gmail.com. And if they want more information about court reporting, they can go to the National Court Reporters Association website. It's ncra.org. And there's a lot of information on that website about court reporting and the A to Z program and different events that are offered in court reporting.
Listen, it's been an amazing time learning about you, understanding what you do on a day-to-day basis. I learned a lot today. I thank you so much for being on the show and really educating folks on what you do. And maybe we have some new folks now at this point. We're starting to build a profession and say, I want to step into the reporting side of things.
Yes, we're welcome now. We need more court reporters in this world. So if you're interested, contact me or go to the website and I can help you get into an A to Z program if you wish. But yeah, come on. We welcome new court reporters all the time. Thank you for having me, Anthony.
You're welcome. Before we do go, for those who are just checking in with us, my name is Anthony Cosenza. Again, this is Blueprint Approved. We'll see you on the next episode.